Hello and welcome to my full review of the Warhammer 40,000 Codex, Heretic, Astartes, Chaos Space Marines. In other words, it's the Chaos Space Marine Codex. This book will set you back £25. It's a hardback book and consists of 176 pages. That's quite a lot of pages. It's probably one of the largest codexes in existence. I would even go as far to say as it's the second largest after the Space Marine Codex, which is 208 pages. The Space Marine Codex is only 32 pages more, and that's not a huge amount considering that Space Marines have got the largest, widest range of any of the armies out there. There's a lot of content in this Chaos Space Marine book. If you are on the fence about it and you've got the models from the Demonkin set and you want to start a Chaos Space Marine army, I can't recommend this book enough. It's fantastic. I want to see them keep the price point of these at £25 or even drop it to 20. When they start charging £30 like they did for the Space Marine Codex, then that's when things get a bit tricky. They could have charged £30 for this, over 150 pages. I could have foreseen them charging it. Look, it's pretty thick, as you can see. If we just compare it to one of the other recent releases, the Orc Codex, and you can think how many units the Orcs have. That's 40 pages less, it's 136 pages. So there's a lot of content in this Chaos Space Marine Codex. It's not quite up to the same number of pages as Vigilus Ablaze, which is 200, and Vigilus Defiant, which is another 200. But still, it's up there with in the range of the thickest codexes, definitely. Okay, let's have a little first look. I've done a first look when I first bought the Codex. I really like the art style and what they've gone with in terms of the pages and keeping them all quite uniformed in this kind of blood reddish kind of colour. You've got a Terminator there, it does say Veterans of the Long War. You've got this introduction, Let the Galaxy Burn, Signs of Chaos, Slaves to Darkness, Lost and the Damned, different sections. This beautiful bit of artwork showing a Baden and a Dark Apostle and a Master of Executions, and a Champion and Terminators. It's got Helldrakes, Forge Fiends, Master of Possession. It's got even a Lord Discordant, although the size is a bit off there. You've even got some Greater Possessed in the picture, all laying waste to Space Marines and Adeptus Mechanicus and Astra Militarum, laying waste to Vigilus, I would have thought. Let the Galaxy Burn. So you've got some lore and some pages covering the Horus Heresy. Some stunning artwork, of course. The Invasion of Terror covers that briefly. Then it goes on to the Traitor Legions and Chaos Renegades. A little bit of a timeline for just a couple of pages. Then you've got the Black Crusades and the Black Legion themselves. Quite regrettably, you won't find the Black Legion relics or warlord traits or abilities or stratagems in this book. You're going to have to buy the Vigilus Ablaze book if you want them, which is an odd omission, and it's only a few pages, and I can't see why they couldn't have just added it to this codex. It feels a bit missing without it. Anyway, you've got the different Black Legion warbands. You've got the Black Legion themselves. You've got the Hounds of Abaddon, Sons of Cyclops, Bringers of Decay, Children of Torment. So they are Black Legion, but you've got the Chaos Gods having the marks on them, such as the Khorne, the Nurgle, the Tzeentch and the Slaanesh. You've got a galaxy divided there, giving you a lovely picture with some John Blanche artwork, I believe, on the sideline. Then you've got more of a timeline, so you're actually getting 6 pages of timeline there for them. Then it goes into the specific legions. So you've got Alpha Legion, Legion's Long War, the Faces of the Hydra. You've got Iron Warriors and their Endless Siege and the Chill of Iron. Then you've got Night Lords, a little bit about Conrad Kurz and some of their war bands. And then you've got the Word Bearers, which mine will be. once painted up. And you've got the Word of Lorgar and their different warbands too. You've also got the World Eaters, so their mark is Khorne, and you've got Oceans of Blood, so you've got the different anointed warbands. And then you've got the Emperor's Children, so they've got the mark of Slaanesh, and you've got the different brotherhoods there. And then you've got Renegades and Tyrants. So it says here, none truly know how many Space Marine chapters have turned renegade throughout the Imperium's history. The galaxy is so vast that reliable data is extremely hard to come by. So you've got many different chapters here that have turned renegade, and they have marks of chaos. So look, you've got the Flawless Host, which is clearly Slaanesh, and you've got the Purge, which is clearly Nurgle. Now, I have decided not to go for the Purge. I've decided to just completely start a Wordbearers Legion, mainly because of that Dark Apostle actually really spurred me onto it, and I do like the colours. So I'm happy to have two different legions, Wordbearers and Death Guard. And then you've got some more here. And then you've got another lovely piece of artwork with a Chaos Terminator Lord. And these interesting things, I don't actually know what they are. They look like some kind of flying vehicles, some kind of transport. You've got this Mauler Fiend, I think that one is, fighting what looks to be Blood Angels, I think. Then it goes on to the different units and fleshes them out a little bit more, like every other codex, which is brilliant. So you've got Demon Princes, so you've got the Demon Princes, the Chaos Lords, Sorcerers, Masters of Possession, the Warp Smiths, the Dark Apostles, which are the Masters of Executions, the Lords Discordant, Chaos Space Marines. So it highlights the different types. So you've got Havocs, Chosen and Bikers, and it also talks a little bit about their Chaos Power Armour. Terminators and Possessed, and then you've got Greater Possessed as well. Then Raptors and Warp Talons, totally different. I'm pleased I know the difference now. You've got the Cult of Destruction, which includes Obliterators and Mutilators, and then Hellbrutes are sort of, you know, one step up from them as well. So your Obliterators, I believe, Obliterators and Mutilators are, you know, the Chaos forms of, you know, Centurions, and the Hellbrutes are clearly Dreadnoughts that have been mutated and changed. Then you've got the Chaos Battle Tanks, which includes the Rhinos and the Predators, the Vindicators and the Land Raiders, or Spiky Tanks. Then you've got some Chaos Cultists, but it's really odd because it doesn't go into Chaos Traitor Guardsmen at all. Blackstone Fortress has 14 of those new models. Well, 7 of them are technically new. I would have liked to see them flesh out more, not just have your basic cultists, but actually have Renegade Militia. Maybe they'll get their own book, similar to sort of Gene Stealer cults. Well, they'll get their own sort of civilian vehicles, or warped versions of the Astra Militarum vehicles. That would be so cool, and I hope they do that. Hope they have that as a separate force at some point. Maybe I'm foreshadowing, who knows. Then Chaos Spawn, the Demon Engines, which includes Forge Fiends and Mauler Fiends, the Helldrakes and the Venom Crawlers get their own special article in the Codex. You've got Defilers, and then finally Lords of Skulls, which I still think are a bit funky looking. I'm not a huge fan of them, truth be told. I'd much rather have them as kind of knights or on legs as opposed to tracks. Just doesn't work for me, but that's just my opinion. Then you've got some specific units and characters for the different Chaos Gods. So you've got so you've got Khorne Berserkers, and of course Khan the Betrayer. You've got Rubric Marines and Plague Marines, Noise Marines, which also includes Lucius the Eternal, and then Fabius Bile, Huron Blackheart, which is part of the Astral Claws, and then you've got a bit about the Fallen and Cypher. Is he Chaos? Is he Dark Angels? Well, there's a nice chunk of information there about them both. And then a separate article about Harkon Worldclaimer and Abaddon the Despoiler. You've got some Chaos Demons that it touches on, such as Bloodletters, Horrors, Plague Bearers and Demonettes. And that's it. So from page 56 to 97, 41 pages of all of the units, going through the what they actually are, fleshing them out, and just describing where they fit in a Chaos Space Marine army, Chaos Space Marine force, how they came to be and how effective they are. That's a nice chunk of units. Then there's a little picture of Abaddon fighting Gilliman, and it goes through some of the new fancy toys, such as Abaddon right there, the new Terminators. That's an old Chaos Terminator Lord. You've got the new Chaos Space Marines there, the poster childs of this release, I would say. And then you've got them fighting some Genestealer cults with, again, some of the new toys, the Dark Apostle, the Chaos Lord or Obsidious Mallex, and the Master of Executions. A couple of new toys here in the form of Greater Possessed and the Master of Possession, but they're offset by these terrible looking normal Possessed, which they really need to redo at some point. However, the Raptors still look pretty good and they work next to World Claimer. I'll try and grab them at some point and do an unboxing and review, but it might be a little bit later on in this release. Then a couple of new massive amazing toys, which is then a couple of new amazing units, which is the Lord Discordant on the Hellstalker and the Black Legion Venom Crawler. I really hope that they at least make the Venom Crawler a separate kit, or have some kind of customization. They might just release it separately, like they did the Myphitic Blight Hauler, but the Myphitic Blight Hauler kit works well as a kit itself. And then finally showcasing more of the new models, which are the Havocs and the Obliterators. The Havocs were a new kit. This Reaper chain cannon is incredible. The rules are in here, and also the Obliterators, very great, very awesome looking models. They were in the Shadowspear box set. On these pages it shows some, I'd say, kind of newish models, but also some very old models. Newish models include the Death Guard Plague Marines and the Rubric Marines, and a very new model, the Noise Marine with Sonic Blaster. But the old models include Lucius the Eternal, these horrible looking Khorne Berserkers. Khan the Betrayer was only a few years old though, and he definitely stands the test of time, but those Khorne Berserkers and Lucius definitely need a redo. Speaking of new models, it shows this amazing Noctilith crown with all the new models and the new Terminators and the new normal Chaos Space Marines in different poses with different weapons. And then you've got some old models. I say old, the Bloodletters and Plaguebearers aren't that old, but the Horrors and the Demonettes especially are very old. But Slaanesh have just had a new release for a lot of their models. The Path to Glory Beckons. So this was interesting. They normally do show you like a example army. Interesting what they've gone for with this army, because it specifically says, because this army here is the one that you get with the Shadowspear box set. You get the Venom Crawler, the Chaos Space Marines, the Obliterators, the 2 Greater Possessed, and the Master of Possession. This force here has the new Terminators, the Master of Executions, the Dark Apostle, and Abaddon. So showing off all of the new units there. This shows a couple of older models, such as the Forge Fiend and the Demon Prince, and a couple of the horrible looking Possessed. But the majority of models on that page for that example army are all brand new. It goes on to talk about the Slaves to Darkness, the Legion keywords, the Mark of Chaos, giving them a mark, more on those rules later on. Their abilities is mainly this Death to the False Emperor, which when you roll a hit roll of a 6+ in the fight phase against an Imperium unit, you can get an extra attack, which really helps even if they've got chainswords. It's sort of like a bit of a multiplier. You've also got this Demonic Ritual where any Chaos character, except for Cypher of course, can summon, at the end of their movement phase, can summon a unit using Demonic Ritual. They have to choose one of the 4 Chaos Gods and they just summon it and it's there. The Chaos Space Marine War Gear list is pretty straightforward. We've seen it all before. The only thing that we haven't really seen is that Reaper chain cannon, and now Chaos Lords can take that Thunderhammer, but we've seen all of that before. So then it displays the data sheets for all the HQ choices in the army, of which there are a whopping 18 choices. That's a huge amount of HQ choices. That's double the amount in the Orc Codex, nowhere near as many as in the normal Space Marine Codex, which has a whopping 26 HQ choices. So it's definitely up there, like I said, in terms of being a thick codex, and also in terms of offering so many HQ choices, of which I've now got pretty much most of them. So Abaddon the Despoiler, truly awesome model and unit in the game. Power points cost of a 12. He has that Talon of Horus. He has the Talon of Horus, which bumps his strength up to 10 and an AP -4. He's also got the Drachnien, which unfortunately on a 1 can give him a mortal wounds, a bit of a handicap, but on a 2+, they can make that number of extra attacks. So this guy can pump out a lot of attacks. He's got a good toughness 5, a good normal 2+ invulnerable. He's got a normal 2+ save and a 4+ invulnerable, which halves all the damage coming into him, rounding up though. He's got a lot of attacks, 8 wounds, and he can teleport, so stronger than ever. Harken World Claimer, he has his 3+ normal and a 4+ invulnerable, 5 wounds. He can deep strike in. He's a Lord of Raptors, so you can reroll the hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons if you've got raptors nearby. A great buffing character, and his Hell Spear, although it's only strength 5, his Hell Spear can be thrown, and it is a nice AP -3, and he's got that Lightning Claw, and you bump up his attacks every character that he slays. The Demon Prince is just the normal Demon Prince, very strong, very fast, still at 8-inch movement, a decent toughness at 6, 8 wounds again, and a 3+ normal, 5+ invulnerable. You can give him the Hellforged Sword or a Demon Axe. You can give him wings as well. Khan the Betrayer, the rules actually prompted me to get the model. I thought the model looked quite cool in the first place, but I just couldn't ignore Khan's Plasma Pistol and Gore Child. It's always hitting on 2+, regardless of any modifiers. It's a strength 6 and an AP -4. He has a 3+ normal and a 4+ invulnerable. He's getting 6 attacks, and he can fight twice in the fight phase. Not to be overlooked, an excellent HQ choice. Fabius Bile, I didn't really do a review on him, but he's got a nice needler weapon, and he can enhance Heretic Astartes infantry, but not characters. Lucius the Eternal, again I didn't do a review on him, but he does have this Lash of Torment, an Armour of Shrieking Souls, which is a 5+ invulnerable, and if he makes a successful invulnerable save, the unit that attacked him on a 50-50 chance suffers a mortal wound, so it actually bounces that back. Cypher, I've done the review on him. He's got decent pistols, but nothing in terms of melee, and he gets that 4+ invulnerable save. He's going to be pumping out 5 shots with his weapons, and he can use them even if he advanced as well. Huron Blackheart, I didn't do a review on him, but he's got the Tyrant's Claw, which you can use in melee as well, which is a decent strength 5 weapon that automatically hits and shooting and bumps his strength up to 8, and he's armed with that Power Axe too. He's got 3+ normal, 4+ invulnerable, and he is a Psyker. You've got the Chaos Lord and the Chaos Lord in Terminator armor. Nothing really has changed with those two. They're still solid choices because they've got the 4 attacks and 5 wounds, and the Chaos Lord has a 6 wounds and a 2+ normal and a 4+ invulnerable, which is welcome because normally Terminators, they don't have that sigil, they just have the 5+ invulnerable. Because he's a Lord though, he has a 4+ invulnerable. He can teleport strike, might be worth having the Chaos Lord come in with your Terminators, and possibly even a Abaddon, or putting them in a Land Raider. Master of Possession, need I say more? An excellent Psyker, has the Smite psychic powers at normal and 2 psychic powers from the Malefic discipline, which is a new discipline for him only. He's not the best in combat, or shooting, and he's only got a 5+ invulnerable, so it's best off using him to buff your forces. Sorcerer, what can I say? It's a psyker. You can give him a load of different force weapons and pick 2 powers from the Dark Hereticus discipline. Then you've got the same but in Terminator armor. Then you've got an Exalted Champion, which is another choice in case you didn't want to take the Lord. You're missing out on that invulnerable save, but you do gain the Aspire to Glory, whereby you can reroll failed wound rolls in the fight phase for any units that are within 6 inches of him. You've got the Lord Discordant on Hellstalker. Need I say more? This model and rules are incredible. 4 attacks, but then you get 5 additional attacks for the Hellstalker. You can have that autocannon or Bale Flamer. I chose the Bale Flamer because it's a nice strength 6 AP -2 that automatically hits its target. The Impaler Chainglaive bumps his strength up to 6, but if he charges, then it times the strength by 2, so you're getting a strength 8. The Hellstalker itself, if you equip it with that Technovirus Injector, then that bumps the strength up to 8 again, but -4, and also every time you wound a vehicle, suffers D3 mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. It's got that 5+ invulnerable, it can regenerate itself, it's got the Spirit Thief. I implore you to have a look at the rules for this one. It's quite pricey at 9 power points, but well worth it in my opinion, especially if you're going for more demon engines. The Warp Smith, similar to the Discordant in that it can repair friendly vehicles. Not going to be the best in combat, although he does have a 2+ save, but no invulnerable save to speak of. But you're mainly getting him to buff your vehicles. And then Master of Executions, one of my favourite models, has that Axe of Dismemberment, which bumps it up to strength 8. You get that Trophy Taker, and you get the Warp-Sighted Butcher. Doesn't really have any shooting as at all, and doesn't have the invulnerable save to protect him in close combat, but he does have a lot of attacks, 5 attacks there. You got the Dark Apostle and Dark Disciples. I went through the review of these two. The Dark Apostle has this new kind of prayer thing, similar to the Adeptus Sororitas, where it knows Dark Zealotry. Having the Dark Disciples, you can add the 1 to the dice rolls to see if the prayer is chanted, is granted. He's alright in combat. He's only got 3 attacks, but he does have a 3+ normal and 4+ invulnerable save, and those prayers will definitely buff nearby units. Then we get into the, I say, meat and potatoes of the force, the troop choices, of which there are 6. So you've got your normal standard Chaos Space Marines. I don't think anything really changed with them. You can still have your Aspiring Champion. Nice to see you being able to pick a autocannon for them, or missile launcher, or any sort of heavy weapon. They have that Death to the False Emperor rule. You can pick Chaos Cultists if you want a cheap troop choice. You can have 30 of them, because you can have 20 additional on top of the 10. Wish they'd made some new models though, these are getting a bit old now. Then you can also choose Bloodletters, which would be the Khorne troop choice, which have those brilliant Hellblades, but they just have the 5+ invulnerable saves, and they're a bit squidgy at toughness 3. The Horrors, which again are pretty squidgy, but they have those coruscating flames, but they are pretty good psychers. Then you've got the Plague Bearers, which have those plague swords that can reroll failed wounds. The Demonettes have the piercing claws, and they're quite fast at movement 7 inches. And then we're into elite choices. So you've got Chosen, which are kind of like your normal Chaos Space Marines, but they've got access to melee weapons. So you can have the different weapons, so you can replace the bolt pistol with plasma pistol, bolt gun from combi or special weapons, bolt gun with bolt pistol or lightning claw. You can replace 1 item from the special weapons or heavy weapons list. I think their difference is their leadership is better, and they've got 2 attacks as well. Then you've got the Terminators, quite vanilla. I said in my review, the Reaper autocannon is practically a must. It's a nice heavy 4 range 36-inch weapon. They've got their invulnerable save, they've got the 2+ normal, they can teleport in, you can give them a load of combi weapons. It's just the kit that you buy for them doesn't have all of those combi weapon options, and unfortunately only has 1 chain axe when, you know, they are all equipped with chain axes as a default measure. More elite choices then, greater possessed and possessed. Why would you even pick possessed? Because the greater possessed are just incredible. 5 wounds each. Yes, you can only get 2 in a unit, and yes, the possessed you can have 20. So if you want more numbers, get the possessed. The melee weapons are better for greater possessed. They've still got the same invulnerable 5+ saves, but the greater ones are tougher. They do have more wounds and more attacks, and their actual melee weapons have that damage D3. The Hellbrute is still a very solid choice there, with lots of weapon options, and it's not that expensive at 6 power points. Then you've got Chaos God specific units, such as the Khorne Berserkers, which have 2 attacks base standard, and you can have 20 of them, which combined with Khan can really cause your opponent some damage. Put them in a Land Raider and you're good to go. Rubric Marines have some very, very interesting weapons like the Warp Flame pistols, the Warp Flamer, the Soul Reaper cannon, which is a very good contender to the Reaper Chain Cannon, especially with that AP -3. That is the main reason I'd get the Rubric Marines. I think they look a bit lanky and thin, but I'd probably get a pack just for that weapon. The Plague Marines, of course, I've got a load of Plague Marines. I've got Death Guard, and it's nice to see all of the weapons there listed for them, including the Flail of Corruption and the Great Plague Cleaver and the Maces and so on. Very solid choice because of their Toughness 5 and their disgustingly resilient. Noise Marines, they have their 2 attacks, and they have some very delicious weaponry, such as the Blastmaster, and the standard Sonic Blasters are pretty good because they're Assault 3 weapons. I just wish that they'd upgrade the sprue and the models. I know that they can do it. Mutilators are kind of like just the melee versions of the Obliterators. They're in the elite choice, and they've got a 2+ normal save and a 5+ invulnerable. You get 3 of them in there. They're pretty decent, a bit pricey, but you're getting sort of 9 wounds at the end of the day. They're very slow though. Fallen, just like Chaos Space Marines, just like normal Space Marines. The beauty about them is you can re-roll rolls of 1 for any Fallen unit when shooting. Raptors and Warp Talons, the main difference is that the Warp Talons are all equipped with these lightning claws, and the Raptors are essentially like Space Marine Assault Marines, and it's worth having the chainswords and plasma pistols with them. You can deep strike them in, and Warp Talons have this Warp Flame Strike, which not only can you deep strike them in, but they're also protected from Overwatch. They're demonic as well, so they have a 5+ invulnerable. So you've got a melee focused fast attack unit there with a 3+ normal and a 5+ invulnerable. It's just a shame they only have 1 attack. It would have been great if they had a bit more, but then that would be buffed by the dual lightning claws, so I understand that. The Chaos Spawn is a fast attack choice. You can have 5 of them. Their attacks are random, and their actual close combat attacks, what they get is very random too. You have to roll a d3 for that, but they are quite fast, but they only have 4 wounds each. Bikers, I don't think anything changed there. They've got that turbo boost ability. The combi bolters are made even better with the bolter rule. Havocs for heavy support. This is where the big change happened. You're getting this Toughness 5 and you're getting this stabilization talons, which means that they can move and fire heavy weapons without suffering penalty to their hit rolls. So they can, jump out of a Rhino, Land Raider, move out of cover and fire, you name it. You can only have 5 of them now though. And the Reaper Chain Cannon, unfortunately they didn't put it in here, but it's worth me just skipping to the back and just explaining just how good it is, especially if you use it in conjunction with a stratagem or a mark of chaos. So the Reaper Chain Cannon right here is a 24-inch range, heavy 8, strength 5, AP -1 and a damage of 1. So you have 4 of them, that's 32 shots, a strength 5, and with their effective range being 30 inches, that could be quite horrific to the enemy. Then you've got Obliterators, which I did review. I reviewed them from the Shadow Spear box set. Again, they're quite slow, but they've got both the melee ability from the Mutilators, and this time they've got these flesh metal guns. And they're very random though. They do get 6 shots, but they're random strength, random AP and random damage, but they can teleport in, and that's the best way I'd use them, rather than having them slog 4 inches a turn, because you only got a 28-inch effective range there. Then you come to the vehicles: Vindicators, Predators and Land Raiders. I don't think anything changed with all of them. Vindicators are still pretty good with that strength 10 Demolisher Cannon, and the Havoc Launcher is pretty much a must still. Such a long range strength 5 weapon. Then you've got some demon engines. So you've got the Forge Fiend, Defiler, Mauler Fiend and Venom Crawler. The Forge Fiend is the ranged demon engine, because it's got the Hades auto cannons, but you can replace them with the Ectoplasma cannon. Pretty decent model, 3+ normal, 12 wounds, good toughness. Its ballistic skill unfortunately does get affected with the number of wounds that is stripped from it. The Defiler is still a very solid choice. It's got that awesome battle cannon. You can have that Havoc Launcher on it too. It can regenerate. It's got an invulnerable save. It's got 14 wounds. It's going to be hard to take down. And the Mauler Fiend is more of the melee focused version, and it can move a whopping 10 inches. So it's faster than you may think. It can regenerate, has its invulnerable save, and the Mauler Fists make it a strength 12 in combat. The Venom Crawler is another solid choice. All of these 4 choices, you can't really go wrong. The Venom Crawler is fantastic, other than its ballistic skill. It's got those Excruciator cannons, it's got 2 of them, which potentially are 6 shots at strength 8, AP -2, and a damage of possible D3. So with its 3+ normal save and its toughness of 7 and invulnerable save of 5+, it's pretty awesome on the field. And it buffs the summoning. It can regain a lost wound like the other demon engines, and when it destroys an enemy model, it regains another one. So be careful of that one, getting that one in close combat. You've got Chaos Rhino, don't really need to say anything about that. The Helldrake has that Hades auto cannon, which is still very solid strength 8 weapon, but you can swap it out for that Bale Flamer too, and again has that invulnerable save. One of the best flyers out there. A Lord of War choice then, you've got this Khorne Lord of Skulls. It's a whopping power points cost of a 30, the most expensive unit in the whole of this book. It's got a number of weapons like the Hades Gatling Cannon, the Skull Hurler, the Demon Gore Cannon, Gore Storm Cannon. It can regenerate. If you've got a Lord Discordant near it, or Venom Crawler, that's going to buff it as well. It's very tough, pumps out a lot of damage. I'm just not a bigger fan of the model, so I don't think I'd get one eventually. Then finally we've got the Noctilith Crown, the new fortification that essentially harms Psykers and gives all of your normal sort of models 5+ invulnerables. The problem with that is there's not that many that require a 5+ invulnerable, other than like your standard troops and your Havocs. Everything else is usually a demon engine or a demon itself and has the invulnerable saves. You've got the armory here, so it shows you all the weapon profiles and these chaos icons, which are very important. You've got a nice picture of a battle going on against Blood Angels and Custodes. The Lost and the Damned. You've got some Legion traits here for the Black Legion, the Iron Warriors, Renegade Chapters, the Dark Raiders, World Eaters, Night Lords, Emperor's Children, Alpha Legion and Word Bearers. Again, this would be a great place to put the Black Legion relics and things in. Then you've got the Stratagems, the Prayers to the Dark Gods, which is this new thing for the Apostle. Really awesome, and you know, if you pick a Mark of Chaos, you've got more to choose from too. The Dark Hereticus discipline for all your normal Psykers, and the Malefic discipline for your Master of Possession. And then the Artifacts of Chaos. And then your Warlord traits, along with Legion Warlord traits. And then you've got all your points values. And finally, your tactical objectives. So there you go, that is my full review of the Chaos Space Marines Codex. No less than 176 pages of pure awesome. I really enjoyed this Codex. If you've got the Shadow Spear box set and you want to invest in a Chaos Space Marine army, I can't recommend this book enough. It's a strong army. It has huge variety in terms of the units and models you can pick from. Everything seems to have an invulnerable save. The rest of the stat line is very solid. They're not the toughest, they're not the strongest, but compared to all the other base units out there in other armies, they're certainly up there. And then they've got all of these buffing psychic powers and prayers. The regeneration of the demon engines definitely helps them to stay in the battle for longer, and they have the potential of so much damage output. It's just incredible. There are a few oddities, such as the omission of the Black Legion artifacts and traits, and also Havocs can only have 5 in the squad now. But overall, we've seen an introduction of a lot of nice fancy units and some changes for the better in terms of rules. Anyway, what do you guys think of the Chaos Space Marine Codex? I try and do this review as one of the last ones because it gives me a chance to read the whole Codex and look at the units, and by then I will have reviewed all of the models and units, so I can give you a fuller review of the Codex rather than it just be sent to me early and me not have enough time to process all of the information. The next video tomorrow on Friday will be my review of every single new Chaos Space Marine model. I like to put them all out on the desk and give you a full review and give you my opinion on my most favourite model and talk through all of them and the books that they've released. I think it's been a really solid release and that video and helps me to get that message across. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. Death to the False Emperor.